Madam Toastmaster, fellow members, and no guests today, I'm afraid, it's December, the month of Christmas, of course, of Sinterklaas, and of New Year's resolutions. What are your plans for 2022? Well, if you're looking for inspiration, then today I'd like to tell you about a plan I had for this year. And it all started in 2020, December 2020, when I went to get my eyes tested. The results, quite frankly, were shocking. My right eye, minus 5.25, and my left eye, minus 6.25. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, it means I could barely see beyond about this distance without blur. And I hated seeing that. I mean, not only because the number was getting higher and higher every year and my vision was getting worse and worse every year, but also because as that gets worse, your risk for all sorts of other complications gets higher as well. And so when I saw -6, I was really quite shocked. And I thought, I want to figure out what is going on so that I can stop it from getting worse and maybe even improve things. And now we're in December 2021. And I'm happy to say that things have improved. My right eye is now minus 4.5, and my left eye is minus 5.5. And here are some of my own measurements just to back up that trend. So how did I do it? Well, I couldn't possibly tell you in 7 minutes how you can improve your vision. And even if I could, you don't want to take it from some amateur like me or anything like that. You want to do your own research, as I did for well over a month before getting started. But to understand how to solve a problem, you need to understand the cause. You know, if your car breaks down, you don't just say, right, guys, change the tires. No, you open the bonnet, you have a look, and you try and find the cause. So what causes short-sightedness? What causes myopia? Well, one of the things you generally hear is that it's genetic, but that argument never really made sense to me. You know, 100 years ago, it was fairly rare, and now I wouldn't say the majority, but a huge proportion of the population seems to need glasses. So what's going on? Well, it turns out there's quite a bit of research that's been done into vision biology, and this is what I'd like to tell you about today. So this is the eye, and in the back you have the retina, cells that take up light and send it to the brain. You have the lens, which focuses that light onto the retina, and you have the ciliary muscle, which changes the shape of the lens depending on what you're looking at. So if you look at something in the distance, the ciliary muscle relaxes, and then what you get is that the rays converge nicely on the retina to produce a clear image. If you look at something more close up, then the ciliary muscle, it tenses up, it contracts, and that again leads to the rays converging on the retina, clear vision. But what happens if you spend your whole day behind a screen? Well, this is something I'm sure many of us have experienced over the past year. Well, have you ever spent your whole day behind a screen and then gone outside and noticed that your vision doesn't feel quite as good as it did in the morning? Well, this is something that has been researched, and this is a phenomenon that's known in vision biology, because what happens when you spend a lot of time in close-up mode is your ciliary muscle actually undergoes a spasm, ciliary spasm, which means that when you then go outside again, your eye is still in close-up mode. And so the rays no longer converge at the back of the retina. And ciliary spasm can last days, weeks, maybe even longer. So this really is quite a state. And this is known as near-induced transient myopia, if you want to look it up, which I recommend you should do. Now, one of the fixes for this is, of course, to visit an optician, and they will fix the symptom. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not making a value judgment here, but they will fix the symptom by putting a lens in front of your eye. That corrects for that ciliary spasm, and you can see clearly again. But what happens when you start using these lenses for close-up? Well, your eye is already in close-up mode, so it doesn't need that extra correction. So what happens is it overcorrects. And so the rays of light no longer fall on the retina, but slightly behind it even. Now the eye, of course, is a fluid ball of jelly. And for a fluid ball of jelly with such a precise task, it needs an active mechanism to stay in shape. And this light falling behind the retina is actually a stimulus to make the eye compensate and get longer. Do you see where this is going? Because now, when you look into the distance again, those lenses are no longer enough. And so the cycle repeats itself over and over again. So this is also known as lens-induced myopia, by the way, another thing you can look up. So in short, myopia starts as a ciliary spasm, a temporary state, which is then fixed with lenses. Lenses cause the eye to get longer and the cycle repeats. So that's how myopia more or less is caused. So how do you solve it? Well, again, I'm not going to tell you how because it's something you want to look into yourself. But the good news is that it's not just a matter of steps, it's habits. Habit change is what does this. And the first habit is you do not want to be using your full correction for close-up. We saw how that causes myopia, and it's not something you want to do. So now you see me wearing glasses in front of the screen. So what's that all about? Well, I'm wearing glasses that are just enough for me to see the screen clearly. They're heavily undercorrected. So if I move back, everything actually gets blurry. And what does that do? Well, it means that my ciliary muscle is relaxed, and it means that light is converging in front of the retina, but never behind it. And so that stimulus that leads to my myopia getting worse stops. Now, there are 3 other principles, habits that you can apply. You want to look into those yourself. And if you're interested, then the website I would recommend is endmyopia.org. This is a big community that has looked into all of this. Yep, Joshua, very clear name. And they've helped lots and lots of people improve their vision and even get to 2020. And now you can get to 2022. Thank you.